Welcome back to Kind Regards, the show. Nostalgia is overrated and should be sent. Um, Welcome back to Kind Regards, the show. I want to talk a little bit about memory and nostalgia because I think there's a bit of a dangerous trap with nostalgia, with memory, that can really make the present sort of look pretty bland in comparison. But I think there's a thinking error at the heart of this, which I'd like to explain by talking about my time clubbing. I lived in Germany for a short time, well, for a pretty long time, for a year, and then a couple of years later, I went back for 9 months. And the second time I went back, I was sort of freshly 18 or 19, and yeah, and so I could go out to clubs and sort of drink and do other stuff, which we did, and we were in a great sort of clubbing city. There was this industrial area that was right near the city. It was like walking distance from the main train station, and you could walk, maybe take you 10 minutes. And you'd get into this old industrial area that everything had been sort of bulldozed. And so it was like flat concrete for like, I don't know, a mile. It felt so far, just flat concrete as far as the eye could see. And then there was this small road that would lead through the concrete, through the sort of flat expanse of nothingness. And then you would get to, there was like four, maybe five industrial sort of warehouses left. They were all brick sort of buildings. And each floor of these, well, each of these buildings was divided into like multiple clubs. So there would be like a drum and bass club, and then like a reggae club and a rock club. And they would also have like a portion of a floor of these buildings, and that was like the clubbing area. You could get food there and whatever, and so you would go out there, and we'd arrive at maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when we would arrive. It's so nuts looking back. And then we would sort of dance until maybe like 6, 7 a.m. And then we would catch a train home, and then we would sort of sit around in someone's basement going, oh, I'm so tired, until we were really tired enough to sleep, and then we'd sleep for a bit and then wake up the next day and have a horrible next day. And then we would do it all again, and we would do this maybe 2 nights a week, sometimes more. And it was a beautiful time looking back. This is kind of the illusion of the video, or the illusion of this point, is that it was a really nice time looking back. Like I was so free, and I was so keen to like experiment and talk to new people. And I never really danced before, but I was like learning how to dance, and I was like feeling accepted in this sort of group of like strangers who were all older than me, but they were really like welcoming and like lovely. And I never looked at someone on the dance floor and got like a scowl, or like a, hey, this guy's so corny, look back. I always got like a, yeah, brother. Like I always got like hype from the people around me. So it was really nice. And, the long chats that we would have on the train home and blah, blah, blah. Like there's all these sort of nice memories. But here's the problem, is that they are all, like I probably had 50, no, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 nights out like this. And my memory of them is condensed into one night out. Like if I think about a night out, I'm taking all these pieces from all the nights out and sort of smushing them all together into this one super night that included all the vast spectrum of the thing. But when I really remember back to a specific night, there were nights where we would show up and there wouldn't be that many people on the dance floor. It would kind of suck, and we were like, this is kind of boring. Like it's way funner when there's heaps of people out. And so we'd go to another place, and that would kind of suck. And then we'd go to another place, and it would be full, but the music would suck. And so we'd float from like club to club until, we were like, we should just give up. And then we'd go home, and everyone would feel kind of dejected and kind of bummed out. And it kind of felt like a wasted night. And that night kind of sucked. But that's not included in my memory of the beautiful times in Germany clubbing. That's kind of excluded. And I think if I was to go back, like it would be a whole different experience than this sort of idealized night. Does that make sense? Like I think I would go and I'd be like, geez, the floor's really sticky and it kind of stinks in here. And like, those older people who I was kind of looking up to at the time, they're actually kind of scat. Like they're actually kind of like weird. And, like I am different. The fundamental point is this: I am different. Not only is the place going to be different, for sure it is, and even if it's the same enough, I am going to be different enough all these years later that it's going to be a completely new thing. You can never really recreate a moment in time. You can never really recreate an environment, a group of friends, a feeling of discovery. Like these things are really ephemeral. We can't really generate them. They just kind of happen to us, excuse me, or they don't. And I think it's a really sort of sad thing to be chasing after nostalgia, chasing after like this feeling of being a kid or this feeling of, being out with those people in those clubs. Like it's sad because it can't be done because you're chasing a phantom. Yeah, at least I believe that this is true. Perhaps I'm missing something here, and I don't mean to say that like I know what it is and other people don't, but I'm pretty sure that the universe is changing at a pace that we can't, that means that we can never recreate anything. I think that's the essential sort of purpose of my explanation here, that we cannot go back and experience things as they were, which is to say too that memory, living in clubbing in Germany, in my memory, is actually the best place to experience it. Like instead of being like, oh, I should go back there and have that again, I can consume that experience again, oh, that would be so delicious. Instead of doing that, which will, I think, necessarily disappoint me, instead, the idealized thing is already up here. It's like, it's better than the reality of recreation is the reality of imagined like idealization. Does that make sense? Like if I'm gonna recreate the night, if I'm gonna recreate clubbing with those friends, up here is the best place to do it. That's where I'll actually get some experience of like, oh, that was a good time, wasn't it? Much more so than actually recreating the thing. Now, living in imagination and the idealization of the past is probably not a super great thing because it divorces us from the beauty of the present, the strange singularity of being where we are right now, whether that's in between jobs or, in a new city where we don't know anyone yet, or, going through a slightly depressive phase like I was a couple of days ago, or whatever we're in, like me and my wife are in a period after marriage, but before having a home, before building like a house and a community and a life in a place. And that, although we wish we were fast forwarded, we kind of wish we were in the future where we were building a house and sorting out these sort of things and having jobs and like, living in a place. Instead, we're transient right now. And that has its own like weird beauty, like the weird beauty of longing for settlement, for longing for community. That is its own sort of beautiful thing. And when we think of it as a singular thing, like I might never long like this again. I might never feel so attracted to this thing, this future again. Then it's a beautiful, sublime sort of present moment, a singular present moment of longing that has its own sort of strange beauty. And so all of this is to say that nostalgia or the recreation of old things is overrated and probably can't be done in a way that satisfies us totally. If you're going to live in the past, up here is the place to do it. But really, living in the present, which can include reminiscing, like, because even if we're in the past in our heads, we're still doing it in the present. Do you know what I mean? And so remaining mindful of our reminiscing makes it a much more beautiful thing. Instead of wishing that we were in the past, we're glad to be in the present where we had a past so beautiful that we could wish for it again. Does that make sense? It's like the difference between wanting to be somewhere else and accepting the desire to be somewhere else as your present moment as it is, and appreciating that desire to be elsewhere as its own thing. It's a kind of paradox of like acceptance. You're accepting your resistance and thereby like sort of negating it or nullifying it. I wish I could be a 15-year-old boy again, like in love for the first time, But instead of trying to be there, we're just being here in the longing instead, which is beautiful. It's beautiful to want things. It's beautiful to feel loss and to feel, a love for memories gone, and or a anticipation for the future to come. These are all sort of beautiful things when we experience them in presence, in mindful presence, where we're aware that we're doing this in an actual moment in our lives. Does that make sense? And in a moment in our lives that is singular. I think that's like a critical point. The I made a video about, it's the first feature that I made, which you can view here. I'll put it up here, where I talk about saying goodbye to things, and that if we really believed that we were doing something for the last time, like if I believed that this was the last time I was ever going to make a video, I wouldn't be lost in thought while I make the video. I would instead be like really engrossed in the thing. Like I'd want to pay attention to this thing, that it's the final time that I'm doing it. Like when we say goodbye to a friend at the airport, we pay a lot of attention because we don't know if we're going to see them again. We don't know if their presence is guaranteed tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And so we pay a lot of attention to the world when we realize that it is singular, that it's fleeting, that it's going, it's already out the door. And of course, the truth of the world is that it is always out the door. The same moment never happens twice. It never has, never will. The moment that you're in right now is a singular moment. It is its own whole thing. And when we think about it, like, this could be the last time that I eat chocolate. This could be the last time that I drive through the industrial area, on my way to work. This could be the last time that I make a video. This could be the last time that I have a cup of tea, or that I see a cup. Then all of a sudden you go, wow, cup. Like, look at this cup. Anyways, watch the feature because I explained it a little bit better in there maybe. But anyways, the moment is singular. We're here for it. So if you're going to reminisce, I reckon the best way to do it is with acknowledgement that we're in a beautiful singular moment of reminiscing right now. Yeah, thanks very much. This has been Kind, guys. I hope this has been sort of useful, insightful, helpful in some kind of a way to think about memory like this. If it hasn't been, I'd like to hear from you, I think, to improve the content later. Yeah, and I like hearing from people in the comments. It's really quite nice. So anyways, yeah, thanks very much. I hope this finds you well. There's a Substack link where I write articles, and there's a YouTube and a Spotify link so you can watch or listen as you prefer. Yeah, thanks very much. Take care.